Okay, I think we're pretty much good to ready to go. Hey guys, Debo here, and bringing you guys another. Well, this video is going to be mostly regarding people's attitudes towards ranked and what's going on in the current situation and what's maybe preventing people from winning and actually being able to move forward. This might be a little bit of a lengthy video, but we'll see how it goes and depends on how I feel. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the obvious. The rank system is not perfect. Things are not always secure the way it's supposed to be. I mean, you have to deal with things like AFK leavers at the beginning of the season. People that were leaving on enemy teams, you would not get as much experience as you're supposed to, but since then they fixed it. They also had issues with, payload maps rewarding experience and things of that nature more than, Assault and King of the Hill maps. But all that has been fixed to a certain degree, except for the people that AFK inside of your team. That's something that's just hard to deal with, but for the most part, I really haven't had to deal with that much. I think Blizzard, especially since they banned a lot of people who are cheating and using, aim hacks or whatever they're using, they started dropping the ban hammer, and I think some people got banned for the season for AFKing. Don't quote me on that, but it just kind of seems like Blizzard's not playing around that more. It's been actually lessening a lot, or it hasn't been happening as much anymore. But the one thing I want to talk about today is people's misconception of why they are losing. Now, and there's certain situations, like I said before, depending on what your team comp is, depending on who you're playing with, depending on, the overall attitude of the team, all that I agree. And plus, who you get put on with can basically influence who you beat and, whether or not you're going to have an easy time or you're going to have a hard time. But the one thing that people need to realize is that there's a couple questions you need to ask yourself before you actually start beginning to say, well, it wasn't my fault. It was it was the enemy team. They were better than us. And it was the people on my team. They were just horrible. Before you try to make that statement, let me just try to open your mind a little bit. Let's say we go ahead and get into a match. Our composition, the current meta is double tank, double healer. Double tank, double healer, double DPS, right? Let's say that we go ahead and start the match. We get one guy playing Ana. We get one guy playing Zenyatta. We get one playing Zarya. We get another two guys playing, let's say, Genji and another DPS, whatever. If I did that all correctly in my mind, I got two DPS, two healers. We got one tank, right? So you pretty much got the meta, even though it's not the strongest picks. You got the two healers, you got the two DPS, you got one tank Zarya. And then at that point, you have to make a decision for yourself. Well, are you going to pick the additional tank to make the game easier? Are you going to pick the Reinhardt? Are you going to pick the Roadhog? Are you going to pick the Diva? Or are you going to pick the Winston to at least give your comp the best chance possible? Now, in that situation, that's still not the most optimal setup for the characters and what you want to play, or, what the meta currently dictates, which is the best. But, generally, if you have two supports, two tanks, two damagers, you do pretty well. You have a fair chance of winning the game. But if you're sitting at that moment, and you're looking at your team comp, and you're trying to be a team player, and you're trying to solo carry, or at least you're trying to do the best chances for your team to win, if you were to pick Widowmaker at that point, that wouldn't make any sense. If you really realistically wanted to do everything that you could win and do everything in your power to increase the chances of you winning, then you should pick the additional tank. Maybe not that great with all the tanks, but I mean, if you're playing ranked, you should at least know how to play about two of the tank characters, two of the healer characters, and two DPS formidably well. Maybe not perfect or all the way mechanically, but you have to be accountable for your choices as a player within these teams. And I understand that every single time you're going to go ahead and get the most perfect team. You're not going to get the team that wants to pick what you have, but you got to be a team player and try to facilitate to helping your team win, the game, or giving your best chances of winning with the choices that you make. So, if you're sitting there and all you have is one tank, and you're not picking like I said, the Reinhardt or the Winston or whatever Roadhog to help your team, and you say either, well, they don't want to pick this or this or this, and they got my role, I don't have to help them out. That's automatically the bad attitude to have, and that's a losing attitude. You're not doing everything possible. Now at that point, if you say pick Widowmaker or pick Hanzo instead of just doing the thing and trying to give your team the best advantage of winning, and at the end of the game you want to say, well, I did very well, but it's my teammates' fault for why we lost. It's not necessarily that's true. You can even end up with 4 or 5 gold medals and do very well, but did you do whatever it takes to facilitate the team winning? Did you really need to pick that Hanzo or Widowmaker pick when you could have picked another tank and that could have alleviated and made things better? Maybe if you picked that tank, that additional tank slot, maybe you didn't get as many gold medals. Maybe you've only got one. Maybe you got all silvers. But if you ended up winning, isn't that better than losing with a bunch of gold medals, winning with a bunch of silvers? And that's where people's mentality needs to think. There is certain situations, yes, you can blame the game. You can blame the map. You can blame the coin flip, random stuff. But if you haven't done everything in your power based on what your team is selecting to give it the best chance of winning, at that point you really can't blame your teammates because you made a selfless decision just like they probably do and everybody else is doing. But a lot of people just can't admit that because, they never want to think it's not my fault. It's not the reason. It's not my skill level that determines how bad I am. It's everybody else and it's not me. But let's just be honest with ourselves, guys. You need to do what you need to do to win. You need to pick the choices that give you the best chance of winning. Now, if you get really highly skilled level, let's say with an example, and I don't support this, like an attack Symmetra, and you're really good with her and you practice her, and it works for your team combination with people that's fine. But if you're really playing these solo queue games and you're by yourself, you're going to have to pick a lot of textbook things. Textbook things like safe picks, like a Winston, like a Soldier 76. You might have to pick a Zenyatta to help your team for the Orb Discord debuff. You might have to play a Lucio, right? If you're playing with a group of people and you guys got your own strategy and plans and you want to do some unique builds, that's perfectly fine because you're in a team and you guys practice it and that's alright. But even in those situations, or even if you're playing solo, the really odd and in picks and things that aren't in the meta aren't giving your team the best chance to win, and you could basically pick something else. Well, Wadiba, what do you mean? Let's say you're really good with Torchborn attack. You're really good at it. You done it well, you got up to rank 70, that's fine. But then you end up losing a couple matches and you want to say, oh, my team is terrible. Well, even though you're really good at Torchborn attack, maybe you should have picked a regular attacker. Maybe you should have picked the Genji. Maybe you should have picked the 76. If you're talking about it's all my teammates' fault, if you really think about it, if you can carry that hard on the Torchborn on attack, what could you have done if you would have played a Genji? What could you have done if you would have played a Pharah? What could you have done if you would have played a McCree? And at this point, this is where people just start, not wanting to listen to reason and be honest about the choices and the things in which they do. I know a lot of people can get you frustrated, and their selfishness in ranked play and competitive play where people are trying to win can be astoundingly just dreadful, knowing that how selfish people are and how they don't care about the team. But you got to look over that. You have to be the sensible one on your team to sit there and rationalize logical thought of what do we need and what can I pick to give my team the best chance of winning. And if you say, well, Debo, I can't play a bunch of different roles and, I don't know what to do and yada, 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 then maybe you shouldn't play ranked. And I don't mean that to be rude to you. I don't mean that to say that you're not deserving over to it or that you spent your money, you shouldn't play ranked. I'm just saying if you're playing competitive and your rank is low and you want to win and you want to climb, and that's what everybody wants to do, and you're not realistically picking the best options for your team to play, then you're part of the problem, and it's not necessarily your teammates that are influencing why you're losing. Now, if you're picking the best possible choices every single time and picking the best for your team, and you're always being a team player but you're still getting the losses, it could be something else. So if you pick the best possible choice and you pick the strongest thing to help your team, let's look at the next scenario. So let's say that your teammate has the double tank, has double DPS, has one healer, and instead of rolling the last DPS, you roll another hero. Let's say you roll Zenyatta, and you just happen to lose. Now, something you might have to realize is you've been losing a couple times is like, hey, Debo, I've been picking stuff to help my team out. What's going on? I thought I should be carrying, I should be doing it better. Well, the next thing that might be a problem is that you may not be mechanically skilled at that character. You may not have the best mechanics with that specific set hero that you might be playing, or the set of heroes that you're playing. And you might need to practice them more by playing more competitive ranked, or just basically playing them in quick play and just having a better understanding of what's going on. Are you using their ultimates in the right situation? Are you able to line up your shots and get the damage out that you needed? Are you dying too much? Are you staying alive? Are you playing too safe? Are you playing too aggressive? Are you playing the map correctly? Are you getting too flustered at what your teammates are doing and you're basically putting yourself on tilt? There's always a lot of things that you can do and a lot of things and mentality ways you could think to give you the higher chance of winning. But what you got to realize is that if you're succumbing to, you're not picking the appropriate choices or the strongest picks in the meta, that's kind of your fault. If you're not picking out things around the team, that's your fault. If you're getting upset, you're getting frustrated over silly things, and you know this is what people are going to be like in rank, it's your fault. If you're not mechanically skilled enough with a certain character and you don't pick the easier option, like example, you want to play Widowmaker, she's a high skill level champion, and maybe you're really good at Hanzo, but you want to play Widowmaker, or you just don't take the easier choice, that's your fault. I'm not saying that, it's a perfect world, and I'm not saying it's fair in the ranked system, but at sometimes you just got to be brutally honest with yourself and realize that, me as a player, I can maybe have more influence on the game. I can maybe do more as myself and play more of a team player and get mechanically skilled with a certain select few champions, and I can actually have a direct impact or influence on the game. And once people start looking at things objectively and start actually trying to do the best for the team and actually trying to, main a certain amount of roles or get really comfortable with using certain champions or heroes or however you want to say it, you might start noticing your rank starting to go up. And then you might ask yourself, well, what changed? Well, you change your whole way of thinking. You change about, how you're playing, how you're approaching the game. You're noticing things a lot better. You're getting better developing skill-wise and everything along those lines, and you're improving yourself. Because at the end of the day, let's be honest. Let's say let's say we just disagree with everybody. It's always your teammates. If it's always your teammates and it's always a bad map and people always pick stupid stuff, then if it's everything else, then your only option to basically win your matches is either to make a team, and let's say the same thing happens when you group with the same people your team. Your only options is to hard carry the game yourself, is to give such an impact with your mechanical skill and knowing how the game and the understanding of the game to be such a big influence on the game where you will win and you will lean the game towards you winning. So if that's your only option, when that's your only way of winning, and there's nothing you could do about it. You can't control patches, you can't control nerfs, you can't control who you're put with. If your only option is to hard carry, then that's what you have to do to rank. And if you don't want to hard carry and you get sick of the game, you could just play quick play and just enjoy the game for what it is. Not everybody is meant to play competitive. You don't have to play competitive. But the whole point of competitive is to try to win and improve yourself and push the high, see how high of a skill ceiling you can push yourself beyond. Just like in StarCraft, a lot of people used to say, oh, there's racial imbalance, there's maps are imbalanced, and Day 9 said it the best, I think. Always try to think of things as not whether or not something is balanced or not, because at the end of the day, does it matter that this map is balanced or not? Does it matter that this race is weaker than another? If you decide to play this race, and there's going to be this set map pool, and the balance is the way it is, if you just basically say, oh, well, it's this, this, and this, and this, it's not me, and once they make changes, then, it'll be better. And that's true. You might have an easier time, but what you have to do is you have to adapt to what is given to you and what's placed upon the table. What is your situation? What is going on? And what do you have to work with? You can always say, oh, they gave me a box of lemons and a box of oranges, and, and I need like I need a crate of, some sugar to make this orange lemonade or whatever, right? And another guy who is making, let's say, apple juice. He gets tons of apples, tons of sugar, filtered water, all this great stuff, and he's, making this great drink and he's selling more than you. And you're like, you got two options. You either start selling the apple juice too, and you're under the same conditions as him, or if you're going to continue to sell this orange lemonade and it's just not selling well because maybe you don't have the same amount of expenses that he has, or maybe you don't have the same amount of quality of ingredients, you're going to have to figure out something. Maybe I sell the lemonade and the orange drink down the street where more people might like it. Maybe I have to sell it cheaper than the other guy to kind of break even. Will it always be fair? No, it's not always going to be fair, but the question you got to ask yourself, what are you going to do as a player to do or to influence the outcome of the match? All things are not equal. Things will never be fair. You got to take with what you have, and the only thing you could really control is your mechanical skill as a player and your game knowledge to what the best hero or selections are for that specific situation or map. That's all you can control. You could choose what's the best hero for you to pick based on what your team is picking, and then have a high level mechanical skill. And let me tell you, those two things can take you a very far distance in most games with any type of ranked or competitive type feature in it. So my whole conclusion in this is, if you're sitting at rank 40 or below or 30, 20, and you're still blaming your team, I'm going to tell you, maybe it's not your team. Maybe it's you. Or maybe if you're grouping with people, it could be the people you're grouping with. But if you're playing games by yourself and you keep losing and you're not actually analyzing what I can do, even though I might be placed in these unfair situations to win, you're not really doing everything possible to win. You're not doing everything in your power to swing the game's favor to what you're trying to do, which is ultimately get the win and climb up in ranked. But a lot of people can't self-analyze their play and reflect upon themselves and figure out, maybe it's me is causing the problem. Maybe I need to switch to a different champion that's a higher win rate. Maybe I need to switch to something that is more meta, get good at it mechanically, and I can climb myself out of the situation. But, I mean, I understand the age we're in, and we're in an age of basically people where they don't want to be accountable for their actions. You know, so like I said, the main reason why I wanted to make this video today, and I know it's going to be a little bit, it's a little long one today, it's just to get people's minds in the right frame of mind to realize what's going on. I'm going to give you guys a little post I saw on the forums. Question for people stuck in the rank 40s. I'm stuck in 40s, can't get out because I'm a terrible player on my team. Or if everyone in the forums came on that was ranked 40 less said, I'm stuck on the 40s and I can't get out because I get terrible players on my team. That's what a lot of people say. Then he goes on to say, this means everyone who's in the 40s who's being talked about is worried to ever get 50s and 60s on your team, but I started in the 40s, so did a lot of people, and we had no issues getting out of the 40s solo. And that's true. I feel that you can get out of the 40s solo if you play the correct champions and do what you got to do. I have a friend stuck in the 30s. Why? Because he rarely plays, and when he does play, he's like ranked 30 or 40, and thus, so he's belong. He does not play enough to keep his skills sharp, and he doesn't have enough skill, and I think that's very true. A lot of people like to say, I saw a post today of somebody said, can you stop putting me with rank 500 top players, you know, even though I'm right on the outskirts of it. I don't think it's fair. It's like, well, if you're that skill level and you're playing that well to be put against those people, it's not the matchmaking system. You just might need to step up your game or get to the next level, or you're ceiling plateauing your rank and you can't move on. You have to look at yourself to see what you can improve. And like I said, I'm not saying the Blizzard system is perfect and that it can't be abused, but there's a lot of things that people just can't cope with or just admit to that maybe it's their fault. And I'm just saying, until you extinguish, and unless you're doing every single option possible to progress your team to win and allow them to get the highest chance to win. If you did everything possible and you played well mechanically and you got a bunch of gold medals, you picked the best chance, the best setup for your team to help out your team, you're just thinking be a team player, and you still lose, that was just a game you were meant to lose. And then at that point you can maybe say, okay, well, it's my teammates, I did the best I can do, but what can you do about it? A balance change or anything like that's not going to change what's going to happen. You just have to keep playing the games and just get your 55 to 60% win ratio, and just say, as long as I keep playing consistently, being a team player and playing the best choices for my team, I will eventually climb, and you will. I remember somebody was they made that statement of forums, and I made a little response, and I think we're going to kind of end on this point in the video because I don't want to run it too long. I don't want to go past 20 minutes, but I'm going to go straight to the point. This is basically what I said in the forums, and I was just trying to inform people if you're having problems carrying yourself out of stuff. I found it very easy to carry myself out of 40s once I figured out what the heroes did the following. Fits the meta, versatile in defense, offensive, and King of the Hill map, simple to use but rewards solid mechanical play, ultimate that can affect the outcome of matches. Zenyatta, Lucio, and Winston were my choices when the DPS needed McCree or Soldier 76 was played. However, next to never get the DPS role due to the fact I'm trying to be a team player and I filled the gaps in my team, whatever they're lacking. The current meta is double tank, double healer, double DPS, and there are some instances where a poor hero choice or lack of a certain hero presence can instantly snowball the game to your advantage. Hint, hint, the enemy team not running Zenyatta, but you are. You're able to put that Orbit Discord out and get the additional debuff, and then, you know, you're able to swing the game more towards your favor.
And there are some instances, well, I'm sorry, I went from 40s to 60s simply from spamming Zenyatta, because let's face it, no one wants to play a support at least, but not many people do. I then linked my Zenyatta stats. You can guys check me out on Debo, hashtag 1782 on OverWatch.com. You can pull up my Winston and also my Zenyatta. Zenyatta's sitting about 62 winning percent, and then my Winston's about at, I do believe, 55%. July 15th, I hit a low 43, and now it's July 30th from rank 60, all by solo play, which is mainly due to the fact that I'm spamming Zenyatta due to his influence on the meta and how good he is. And in general, when conversation with friends who are stuck in 40s or lower and can't reach their fill of 50 rank or higher, they do the following. And this is what a lot of people might do, or they might question in reason maybe why they're not doing so well. Don't respect the current meta setup or understand why at higher ranks the same team composition should keep showing up. Understanding why pro players are picking what they're playing, or understanding that there's just a certain advantage to a certain hero selections that will give you advantage in the match. Like the current meta, like I said again, is double tank, double heals, double DPS. As long as you have that basically, team comp, you do pretty well. And then once you get to a higher level, then you might need to pick a specific version of the double tank, double healer, double DPS. But just to start off with, you're going to need to run that. Another problem people lack is basic lack of mechanical skill, aiming, understanding the limits of a hero, and overall how to play the map correctly. Are you doing the hero in the best situation possible? Are you playing it in the appropriate position? Is your mechanical skill? Are you landing your shots? Are you doing the damage you needed to? Do you know the limits of what your hero can push and what they can't? All that stuff does affect. Lack of will, being a team player and fill the roles the team needs desperately. You might be mad that everybody else is being selfish, but if you need a healer and you don't play a healer, you automatically are giving your team a huge disadvantage into losing. Let me see here. The rank system, and I concluded the rank system isn't perfect, but you can do a lot of things, even playing solo, to swing the outcome of the match dramatically in your favor. If you're not filling the roles other people don't want to play, being a team player, not respecting the current meta, and trying to work on your mechanical play, the fault of your rank probably lies towards your mentality at the game, and it needs to be changed if you want to climb. Notice how I didn't say it's really your fault. At the end of the day, I can understand the system, and there's a lot of things that can be improved, and I can definitely understand that could make the game a lot more stable in terms of, like, no, I'm not going to even say it that way. I'm going to be honest. It's probably your fault. Not all the time, but you just need to make the correct decisions and be smarter about what you do. And if you don't like the game system and you think it's fucked up, I agree with you. There's a lot of fucked up things in the rank system, and it's far from perfect, and you want to play another game, that's perfectly fine. Do you have to deal with Blizzard and what they do? No. Do you have to listen to everything they say? No. And that's perfectly fine. And if you don't want to play the game anymore because you feel it's too much of a headache and the game has too many glaring imbalances, I agree with you. There's a lot of messed up things that can be exploited. But in general, if you're trying to climb and you're trying to get better, taking out the option of just simply saying it's the teammates, it's not myself, and you can't say that. I mean, I know you want to, and that might be the actual just cause. They might be selfish, they might be terrible, but you have no other option than to be the team player and hard carry your team if you want to rank up, or you will forever stay at your rank. And that's just how the game is, and that's how it's going to be. Also, with these videos right here, these are just basically me in ranked, and the funny thing is I ran into the same group of people, and I was telling them, we need to run double tank, double support, double healer, and a lot of them didn't want to listen for the first couple matches, and we lost one or two. But when I was the same guy popping off saying, hey, we need to do this, we need this to win the game, and then we started doing it and we started winning. It's funny, I got cute with like some of the same people for the next set of matches, and we were just dominating. We got a bunch of good, points in and ranking up because, I just told the team, look, simple message, double healer, double tank, double support. We need that. If you're not picking champions you're comfortable with, you need to switch it out, and you need to play the best that you can. We need to play as a team. And some people might view that as being, oh, you're being toxic or you're being annoying, but, for me, I don't care. I'm going to tell you, look, man, if we're not running meta stuff and you wonder why we're losing, that's why. Oh, it doesn't matter about meta, blah, 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 blah. Well, I mean, okay, yes and no, but at the end of the day, if one team is running a strong team comp that does fit the meta and that does make sense because it's strong, and we're running a lackluster, meta comp, when we get outplayed, we really can't get mad. Maybe if we had the better characters, that would even it up. Or if we play with a team that's weaker than the enemy team, our mechanical skill has to be so much higher than them, and you're making it more harder than necessary to win the game.
You know, so even in these games, as you saw on the screen, I was just trying to tell them, like, dude, we just need to run this setup and we'll do a lot better. You know, and I have no problem switching to whatever the team needs. One game I couldn't play Zenyatta, or 2 games I couldn't play Zenyatta, so I said, okay, this guy wants to play Zenyatta, that's fine. I'll play Lucio. I'll be the team player. Okay, they got a Lucio Zenyatta, I'll play Winston, or I'll play Zarya. Whatever I need to do to make the team win. So I'm going to go ahead and stop rambling. Appreciate you guys watching this video and stuff like that. I got more videos coming out for Overwatch. Going to be keeping them on a steady streamline. But like I said, if you're stuck in the lower end ranks, I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm not saying that you can't be mad at your teammates, but you don't have any other option. Blaming your teammates is never going to make you rank up higher. It's not going to change. So the only thing you could do is improve yourself, pick the strongest picks, and try to hard carry your team. Anyways, as always, I appreciate you guys checking out the videos. Make sure you guys check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/SPSDebo. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel and share the video with your friends that might be reluctant to realizing maybe why they're not ranking up, and just anybody in general. Hope you guys have a good day, and I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. I'm Debo, and I'm out.